What moment in an argument made you realize this person is an idiot and there is no winning scenario? An old roommate of mine was trying to say we were blackmailing her when we were asking her to take out her trash, etc. She said watch the Lizzie McGuire movie, there's blackmail in there and it's obvious that's what you're doing to me. I believe it goes without saying that she never cleaned up after herself, nor did she understand that movie. Damn, the Lizzie McGuire movie is darker than I thought. In a case like that, you start putting the crap they don't clean up, i.e. garbage, dishes, etc. right in front of their bedroom door so they trip over it. When they ask why you're doing that, just tell them that you're only trying to show them your acting chops by imitating the movie. I tried this once, they just pushed it to the side enough that they could get in and out of the room. Didn't even clear the whole doorway. I live in a collective. I might have duct taped dirty dishes to one of my roommate's doors. At another point I've hidden all the clean dishes and went on a weekend vacation. Now they had to clean the dirty dishes if they wanted food. It's fair to say I'm not a nice person and not exactly popular either. Co-worker would constantly preach against GMOs, parabens, only use oils when sick, etc. She told me I was going to get cancer from my deodorant, and the corn I bought was mutant. Then she'd go outside and smoke 3 cigarettes every 2 hours. Not to be super dark, but if she preaches on a gain, try telling her to look into Steve Jobs. I mean, it's neither here nor there, but I think if he got actual sound medical treatment instead of some holistic hippie approach, he may be alive today. Kind of reminds of that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer convinces George to see his guru, and George turns purple. When I was arguing with someone about why milk doesn't go in first when making a cup of tea, a very English debate, and his argument was when you add boiling water to cold milk, you're warming it up, but when you add cold milk to boiling water, you're cooling it down, and I don't want cold tea. I tried to explain how the end temperature will be exactly the same regardless, but he was already celebrating his self-awarded victory. That's stupid. Also, to add to your argument, you would put the milk in last because it's easier for the tea to diffuse in the water without being inhibited by the milk. On top of that, if you put too little milk in and stir it, you can always add more according to taste. Once it's in there you can't take it out. How do people not get this? I'm with you, Scholarthy. Very contentious issue, and I will admit to all those disagreeing with me that your delivery mechanism, teapot versus tea bag already in the mug, does make a difference. My cousins are flat earthers. When lack of evidence is just proof of a conspiracy, it's best to just disengage. You can't break into that prison, they have to break out. You can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. If someone doesn't value evidence, what evidence are you going to provide to prove that they should value it? If someone doesn't value logic, what logical argument could you provide to show the importance of logic? Sam Harris. Seriously, though, what is their reasoning? I thought flat earthers were just a myth. I think it's the same reasoning that drives people in large pickup trucks to park in the EV charging spaces. Haha, fuck you. This is fun. It's low-level aggression. They get to fuck with you. They get to annoy you, but they can claim that they're not actively hurting you. When a sex manager insisted to me it was impossible for a laptop CPU to hit over 100C because that would melt gold, his tech expert buddy backing him up the whole time. For those too lazy to look it up, but still curious, the actual melting point of gold is 1064.1 AD, 1337.33 Kelvin, 1947.52 R, 1337 Kelvin. Haha, nice. Someone who is dating my roommate considers herself to be environmentally conscious. She claimed that napkins were bad for the environment and they increase one's carbon footprint. She ranted about it to me in my own home, even though I don't even buy napkins. Maybe a week or so later, she noticed I use a reusable coffee filter and berated me for not using disposable paper filters. I told her that using a reusable filter cuts down on the amount of waste that we produce when brewing coffee. So, not only do I not contribute to filling up landfills with paper filters, but I also save money from not buying them in the first place and just cleaning the plastic one. She told me that since paper filters are biodegradable, there is no reason for me to refrain from using them. But napkins are made of paper. Napkins are made of paper. She literally just wanted to stand on a soapbox and hear herself talk. She derives pleasure from telling others that they are wrong, regardless of whether or not they are actually wrong. There is no winning an argument with her. This is even worse than you think. If anything, the napkins would be better for the environment, as some napkins are made with real paper, however coffee are typically not. When she said I don't have to be rational when discussing how and why laws are made. We had a new assistant at work who was not fitting in with the team. I sat her down and talked to her about expectations and reviewed the responsibilities of the position several times. In one last effort to help her, I thought I'd see which parts of the job she liked. I asked her, "What skill do you think is your strongest skill?" and she said, "Delegating." I have worked as a trainer for a management position where we had to force people to step back, stop trying to do everything, and just delegate. If someone came in for an interview and said delegation was their strength, they already had a foot in the door. It was hilarious seeing people adjust. If you like to stay active, it made you feel lazy and worthless. He had an aversion to Stephen King. Thought Stephen King only wrote gory trash with no redeeming value. That everyone who reads Stephen King had mental issues. And his favorite movie was The Shawshank Redemption. Even after I showed the credits both on IMDb and Wikipedia, he refused to believe that degenerate Stephen King was in any way, shape or form involved with his dearly beloved film. This has happened to Stephen King. There's a few audience with videos on YouTube, talking at various campuses and events, etc. He tells this story of going into a Floridan supermarket and an old lady telling him she didn't like horror stories but did like uplifting stories like that Shawshank Redemption. King says, "I wrote that." She replies, "No you didn't," and walks off. There is a hate Stephen King bandwagon for sure. I had a roommate once come out into the living room and saw me reading it. Him, Stephen King. There's a million other things you could be reading. He writes trash. Me, well, what have you read by him? I haven't. A co-worker went on a rant about how all teachers are lazy and only work from 8-3 while taking loads of holiday time while doing minimal work. I come from a family of teachers, so I could see the time put in at home. The lost weekends, the days of doing work till 7 p.m. The last 2 weeks of every summer holiday spent in school prepping the classroom for the next year. Buying materials out of their own pocket because the school budget wouldn't cover it. My co-worker's response, "Well, I'm a parent so I know more about it than you do." I nearly flipped my fucking lid. The thing with opinions about teachers is that since everyone went to school, everyone feel like a specialist of what teaching is about. The truth is that, as a student, you have no idea what the teacher is doing. My sister is becoming a teacher and was an intern at my former school. I was surprised to learn that many teachers there still knew who I was, even though I haven't been there in 12 years and I wasn't a student who stood out for some reason. Then I thought about the heaps of administration these teachers have to make about each student they teach, and considering they were teaching me multiple years, that probably added up a lot. My best friend's sister is a teacher. We are neighbors and we grew up together. Great family as a whole. She a second year teacher, so she's still relatively new in the field but still has experienced a lot. Man, the amount of misconceptions people have about teachers. Your co-worker is not only extremely rude and disrespectful but quite dumb too. It's okay to be ignorant about certain topics, everybody is. The huge difference is that when you explain to a normal person, they will listen to you and understand, while the idiot will just dismiss it with "Don't lecture me, I have my opinion and I know better than you." I'd avoid that co-worker like the plague. Ended up being a win-win situation. After a week of constant arguing and telling my now ex-boyfriend and telling him in no uncertain terms that we are over, he came to me one morning and said, "Well, if you don't want to work on this, I don't think we should be together anymore." I just agreed. This happened to a friend of mine. In high school she broke up with this guy, but for some reason it just didn't compute. She must have re-broken up with him at least 6 times with varying degrees of privacy and attitude. On the phone, in person, in class, in the hallway. Everyone knew they had broken up except him. One day I am hanging out at her house when the phone rings. Old Timmy phone with a cord to the wall. No speaker phone, no caller in, and I hear her side of a very weird conversation. "Hello, this is..." Yay. Perplexed look. Yay. Okay. Yay. Bye. She looks at me and deadpans. That was Guy. He just broke up with me. He says that we shouldn't date anymore. Whatever, Guy. A discussion with someone about the process of getting a license. Obviously they didn't have one, and didn't believe that you had to do a 5-hour driving class to get one. The moment came when they tried the whole you can't always believe stuff from the internet, and we're just like, A. You jump on pretty much any conspiracy theory you find on the internet, and B. We're on the fucking DMV's website. They seriously still didn't believe it, and tried to go the whole you gotta use Google to win arguments route. When she kept trying to change the subject, every time she realized she was wrong, I stayed with verifiable facts. She went all over the map, bringing up shit I did like 5 years ago. You can't turn right at this red light. The sign says so right there. Well, you burnt that craft dinner that one time. You didn't read those instructions, did you? Who the hell burns craft dinner? You can't turn right at this red light. The sign says so right there. Wow, that sounds kinda toxic. I mean, hard to be sure from one story, but if they can't face even being mistaken in a smallish way sounds toxic. Fucking hate that when people are mad at you for something, and suddenly bring up a bunch of old shit you did that made them mad at the time, to add fuel to the fire. Every time on Reddit you give an opinion and everyone tells you you're wrong. That is, when you say you like to film, you're wrong. This friend of mine was always late when we wanted to hang out. Sometimes she even cancelled last minute, 10 minutes before the time we were supposed to meet. I once made a joke saying we all knew she was the worst when having to meet her because she was so unorganized and cancelled so many events. A few days before she was leaving for college we were meant to meet, so I arrived late knowing she was going to be anyway. Waited for her for about an hour or so, but it was the last day I could meet with her, so I didn't mind that much and I asked a friend to wait with me. I received a message 1.5 hours later saying, I'm not coming and don't even bother me asking why. I don't have to justify when I arrive later. That day I realized she wasn't worth it, because yes, I deserve an explanation when waiting you for almost 2 hours. LOL. Had a friend that would actively make plans with me to do stupid shit like go for a run together or study together. Schedule it for 2 hours from then, only to disappear on me with the explanation of having run into some other friends of hers and deciding to go out with them instead. I didn't even call her out on it. I just asked her that next time she please just let me know when that happens, so I'm not just stuck there waiting around for plans I didn't know had changed. I can't remember what she said exactly, but it was basically, well, I just go with the flow and this is what happened. I never responded back. This whole thread brings to mind a quote I've always liked. Arguing with stupid people is like playing chess with a pigeon. Eventually the bird will just shit on the board, knock over all the pieces, and strut around like it's won. You'll always lose an argument with an idiot. They'll just bring it down to their level and beat you with experience. Don't wrestle with pigs. You'll both get dirt, but the pig likes it.